It's not getting it.
All right, so we good?
Let's go.
All right. I want to welcome everybody out there in podcast land to the Good Times with Good People Company presents the Loft Party Podcast, where it is always about good times, good people, and good talk. I'm your host and panel moderator, Rio, and let me introduce you to today's panel, because we've got a full one. So, our returning champ, Dave Tiemann. He is an entrepreneur and an art dealer. Chris O'Connor. He is the co-owner of Liquid 9 Broadcast Media Production. Lane Boland, he is a wealth manager, and I won't say the same joke because I know you've been looking at all of the episodes before this one, and you can fill that joke in for yourself. We've got Jesse Pringle back after a small hiatus. Of course, you remember him as the creator and writer of Kill 'Em All Kansas City and the soon-to-be-released Kill 'Em All Los Angeles, a fantastic web series. Ben Roberts, he is our bartender extraordinaire here at the Pendergast Club. We've got Roy Scott, the co-creator of H3, and that is healthy hip-hop, trying to keep hip-hop clean and positive for the kids. Dave Elliott, the owner of C&P Construction Services. And we've got a new person sitting in on our panel today, Tony Ladish. He is a filmmaker, and he was also the editor for seasons 1 and 2 of Kill 'Em All Kansas City. So, welcome everybody.
Welcome.
I'm glad everybody came. First, I'm glad that the rain stopped. It was ridiculous earlier because I was not sure how many people were going to be on the panel, but it's actually cleared to be a fantastic early evening. And we're going to get right on to it. First, let me acknowledge our sponsors, of course, the Majestic Restaurants Pendergast Club that allows us to record in our favorite room in the city, J. Rieger and Company Kansas City Distillery, and Lane, and our newest sponsor, Edward Jones Financial. So, let's ask the question that everybody out there in podcast land wants to know. So, what are we drinking? And I will start with Chris O'Connor.
Very dirty gin martini, actually vodka martini with Rieger vodka. Change of pace for me.
Okay, all right, Roy.
What'd you give me, Dave?
You drink some Jameson Black Barrel.
Jameson Black Barrel. That's what I'm drinking on.
Sounds
Thanks
good
to
to
Big
me.
Dave. Appreciate you.
Dave Tiemann.
Vodka and soda with lots of lemon squeeze in it, and it's Rieger vodka.
Ben.
I'm drinking an Odell 90 Shilling. It's an ale out of Fort Collins, Colorado.
All right, Tony.
Vodka tonic with Rieger.
Okay, all right. Come on, Lane.
The old standby, Overholt Rye.
Overhold Rye. We're going to convert him to J. Rieger
Not a chance.
as soon as physically possible. Jesse Pringle.
Jameson neat.
Jameson Nick. You know, I sense there is continuity with Kill 'Em All and your drinking choices. I've noticed you've drank Jameson several times.
It's Irish. It's smooth like me. So
There we go. There we go. So what? So what we have?
Smooth, he means like spurs going down your
right. Big Dave.
I'm also drinking Jameson Black Barrel, a fine Irish whiskey.
And the one person that I did not introduce, the anonymous female. Say hello, anonymous female.
Hi.
She is drinking what she normally drinks, and I'm giving her my normal dirty look. She is drinking H2O, ladies and gentlemen.
Aquafina.
But she is the right hand of the podcast, so one of us has to actually be sober at this table to make sure that this band does not go way off track.
Now, you noticed I gave that a good name. Thank you.
So, our next question, everybody out there in podcast land is wondering.
What are you drinking?
I am drinking a Rieger whiskey and a couple splashes of tonic, actually. Very tasty. I'm quite happy with my choice. Thank you, J. Rieger and Company. as I'm doing my cheesiest smile right now, ladies and gentlemen. So the next question that everybody out there in podcast land wants to know is, so what are you smoking? And I will start the other direction with Big Dave.
I'm smoking my standard, which is a La Flor Dominica Airbender Guerrero. Just a fine smoke. Can't beat Dominica.
Jesse.
I don't know what it is.
It's a cigar, Jesse.
I grabbed it because I
That's
like the way it looked.
That's a
It
great
smelled
look.
alright. So.
Grayfield?
Jesse is feeling like he has very deep pockets today, ladies and gentlemen. He pulled a Grey Cliff out of our humidor. Yes.
But it looks like
A
somebody
great
put a
clip.
cigar load in the bottom of it and it blew up.
No. That's a.
Just say.
That's a hell of a smoke.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a smoke.
Yeah.
Lane?
That was just some Sir Walter Raleigh, keeping it American today.
Yeah, and as I have mentioned before,
Like every day.
Yeah.
Sure.
as I have mentioned before, Lane is a pipe smoker. He does smoke cigars, but he is primarily a pipe smoker, and he is smoking his very smooth Sir Walter Raleigh blend of pipe tobaccos. Tony?
I'm secondhand smoking all the shit y'all are smoking.
Okay. All right. We'll take that on podcast number 1. We'll take that on number 1. Ben is smoking something this week, ladies and gentlemen. He has been abstaining for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yep.
What are we smoking today, Ben?
I'm smoking the Oliva Series G.
Yep.
It's just a nice little smooth smoke.
And very smooth.
Yeah.
And Dave Teeman.
Rocky Patel, vintage 1990. I love their cigars. Smooth, mild, draws good. Look at that ash on the end of it. God bless America, that's perfect. God bless Cuba, I meant, that's perfect.
Yeah, really. Roy.
I'll just pick this up myself. It's a Cold Juno.
Tatuaje.
Oh, the Tatuaje,
Tatuaje,
yes.
yeah.
I like that. What he said. Now it's also a really good smoke. And not quite last, but Chris?
I am copying Roy, and thank God I did not have to go first trying to pronounce that. I didn't.
So a second Tatuaje. And I am smoking a Arturo Fuente sun-grown Rosado wrapper. And the anonymous female is smoking what she normally smokes, the secondhand smoke from the rest of us. Because I can only get her to smoke a cigar once or twice a year, so today ain't it. Ladies and gentlemen, today ain't it. Which actually brings us into today's topic, and today's topic is, when did you know that you were truly an adult? Or, as I like to say, when did you know you were a grown-ass man? Or woman, for that matter. And I am not going to put anybody on the spot yet, but anybody who seems like they have an answer, and I'm going to say Dave Teeman.
Yeah, I figured it'd be me.
Now, was this before or after sliced bread was invented?
Wow.
Well, you know what?
Was it
Now that you
before or
mention that,
after the signing of the
Funny you
Declaration
mentioned
of
You know,
Independence?
it's a good subject, and it's a tough subject to answer because there's always lots of different things to think. So, I knew I was a grown-ass man when one of the neighborhood ladies that came over all the time seduced me one night at our house.
Wow.
At
It was
the
like-
tender age
I
of?
was about 16. It was a wonderful experience, and she taught me a lot of things.
You still weren't a grown-ass man.
Thought he was.
Well, I had
You sure thought you were
I
that
had-
big.
I had hair in places I didn't know I had hair.
That's funny.
I don't think we even have to edit that.
No,
I thought I cleaned it up nice.
I think
Yeah.
you did very well.
Yeah, that was good.
What did she teach you, Dave?
Well,
She taught me to
She
be
taught
happy,
me- you
Ray.
know what?
It's
She
about
taught me-
being happy.
I know I can.
As I am going to give Lane my customary
Wait,
dirty
no,
look
good-
for Lane across
Good
the table.
question. I can keep it clean.
Okay, all right.
She taught me how to treat women the right way,
Wow.
Well said.
with respect
Well said.
Well
and lots
said.
of love.
and then walk out the door.
And then and go home, which is I wanted to
With
with
$100 on the table.
But the thing is, when you're 16 and that happens to you, you go home with what's called a shit-eating grin.
Of course. Well, and I wore that grin for about 6 years.
Exactly. I think he's still wearing it.
If this was 2016, that would have been a Snapchat video leading to a conviction.
Snapchat.
What about you, Chris?
Onward from here.
There were probably 2 times. One was, I think it's different. I think there's times you realize that you're a man, but then there's probably a time earlier in that when you realize you're not a boy anymore and you're in this awkward kind of middle stage.
That's actually really good.
So I was dating a girl. So for those of you who don't know, I dropped out of college and did not speak with my parents for quite some time, and did not have a lot of money, but had enough money to pay for my own place, all this stuff. I was living with this girl, and she was from southern Kansas, and her stepdad came up and started using words which we do not use in my house, and dropped the N-bomb a couple of times. And I just said, listen, one more time, you don't pay a goddamn dime for this place, I do. So you have one more chance, otherwise you're going to be leaving. And I did it again, and it was sure as shit. That was the first time I ever knew that I could kick an adult out of my house. Actually, I pay for this. You're gone. You broke the rules of the house. First time I ever got to say that line ever, which I thought was pretty awesome.
Cool. That is pretty awesome. The
And
first
then,
time you get to do it.
I think the first time I probably realized, it was the first time I was ever able to actually, truly support somebody through a job and those kinds of things, and know that I could be a provider for the person I wanted to be with and all those kinds of things. So it was kind of a good feeling.
Yeah.
I am a traditionalist on that. I believe in that. So that was a nice moment.
Boy, I'm telling you, if you could just see this group, just their brains are going.
Clicking and ticking.
What am I going to say?
I think you've made eye contact. You've made a mistake, Tony.
Is that the way this works?
That's the way it works today. So, when did you think that you became a grown-ass man, or when you knew beyond a shadow of a doubt?
It's going to happen one of these days. I think I was kind of a late bloomer, and so I, kind of early mid-20s was when I stopped taking any assistance from anyone. My parents, my mom, my dad died when I was 19, and my mom helped me out for years after that. And the first time I had to sink or swim on my own, I think was when it really kicked in for me. And then, and I kind of agree with Chris that there were a couple of moments for me. And then the first time I ever fell in love was a big deal for me, like as a grown man, as an adult, and lived with somebody, and had to be a good dude, and
Right.
do right was a big deal. And then it was, for me, it's like because I'm kind of a serial monogamous, so it's like, 18 straight years of being somebody's boyfriend,
You lost
And
me.
so, what's that?
You lost me.
I know.
That monogamous.
But I learned something from every single person I was with that grew me up a little bit more each time. So, I'm still doing it.
I hear you. I definitely hear that. Honestly, I think it's probably that way for a lot of guys. You just, like, every experience and every relationship grows you up a little bit more. And yeah, so, that's really how it was for me. Anyway. Trying not to make eye contact is also the way to get called on next. Jesse Pringle.
When I threw dirt on my first victim. That's funny.
He is in character, ladies and gentlemen.
Did I tell you that Jesse writes for a crime drama called Kill 'Em All Kansas City, and he plays the lead murderer in the show, and he's
Murder's
a
such
quite
strong word.
he's quite a formidable.
That's what it is.
He's a quite a formidable looking gentleman. As I'm doing my cheesy smile once again, ladies and gentlemen out there, podcast land. So what do we think? Or when do you think you kind of knew?
My first experience was physical responsibility. which was 2 latchkey kids. I had an older brother, and all his friends used to beat my ass every day just because it was cool. So I had to learn how to outrun them.
Yeah.
And then eventually had to learn how to, strap up and fight back. And then I think I was about 9 or 10 years old. It just snapped out on them, and finally they thought I was crazy enough to actually fight them. So
How much older were you?
That'd be my oldest memory, I'd say, for something like that.
So how much older were your brothers?
4 years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I must say they had height, weight, and reach on you.
Right.
Yeah.
Then, I bet they don't anymore.
Then I grew up. They stayed the same.
So you have some experience as a adult or young adult that made you feel like, I'm a grown up.
First time after I left college or was kicked out of college, that's how I like to put it. But
Get down.
honorably kicked out of college.
Hell yeah.
Honorable.
I just had KU requests are not returned, so I don't know what you call that.
I'd say the first time I rent was due.
That's what
Straight
Cam
up.
said the other
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
First rent check I paid.
That'll wake you up.
Yeah, it will. Yes, it will.
Yeah, and you realize you don't have enough money to buy the food.
Sure.
Oh, okay. Rent.
Yeah. Yeah. Big Dan?
Think about this, kind of a two-part deal. I think first time I realized I was a grown-up man was when I come off the streets of New Orleans and went to work in the boats, and then I got a job in the oil field. And I'm out in the oil field, and I had long hair, and I'm green, and I'm working with a bunch of bikers, and they told me to go up and change the slips. And we were milling on some concrete down low, 1,400 feet down, right out the river, Gulf of Mississippi River, right there in the Gulf Southwest Pass. And I hollered up the operator to turn off the rotary, and the pipe backspin popped the hair out of the side of my head. I had a goose egg size of no hair on my head with a big old lump.
Ouch.
And it didn't knock me all the way out because I was very hard-headed. And one of the Hawaiian boys, Duke Rosario, come up and helped get me down. They took me down to the galley and said, "We need to get a boat. We need to haul you in." I want to sit here for a while. A couple hours later, I said, "I'm going to work." That was definitely a step in being a man.
How old were you then?
Couldn't have been 20. But then I really didn't become a man until I got to the point in life where I realized I didn't know shit. I didn't hit that until my 30s. We moved out here to Kansas City in 1991. And my grandfather had just lost his wife, my grandmother, day after Christmas. And Grandpa was a Depression man, World War II vet. We'd always been good buds when I was a kid. But God put me in front of him for a reason. I did not want to leave New England at all. And he snapped me around real good. He's one of these great generations guys. That old man ended up being the best friend I ever had. And he taught me about true responsibility about being a man. And I give him, and my father's mother, my other grandfather, they all have part in it, but him in particular hit the chord with me. And I would get over and help him. He had owned a bunch of duplexes down in Paola, Kansas. And I'd get over and help him after work, do a few things for his ladies. He had a harem down there, 9 widows in there. He's the only widower, 10 years. And he'd go, "Make us a toddy, boy." And I'd go make a drink, and he'd sit down. We'd put elbows on the table and just start telling me stories and start giving me life lessons. So after he died, I've always honored him by being a responsible, hard-working, truthful man doing business in an honest way. And I give him a lot of credit for my success today. That's when you really become a man, is when you learn to square up. If you screw up, you screw up. Don't run away from your problems, run at them.
Yeah.
And so I have to give Gramps. All right, here's the Gramps, guys.
Here's the Gramps.
Always give him a cheer when I have a toddy.
Yeah, my grandfather was a big influence on me too. You know, I still actually have his old shoe shine box, and I just remember Sundays him getting dressed for church. And, you know, he'd lay the suit out on the bed, and then the shirt and the tie, and then he'd get his brush and brush his hat and get it right. And then he'd get the shoes out and put them on, and he wore the same. He was a cement finisher, and he put on these coveralls every day, whether he was working or not. He put on these coveralls every day, and he'd sit down with those coveralls on, and he'd put those dress shoes on, and he'd shine those shoes up, and it was just to a mirror shine, and then and he'd go ahead and he'd get dressed, and the funny thing was, depending on the Sunday, we could either be going to my grandfather's church, my grandmother's church, or they could be going separate, which meant you had to choose which grandparent you were going to go to church with. But you couldn't choose the same one all the time. You just couldn't. So, but I always remember the days that it would be like me and my mom would go with my grandfather to church. There's just something special about those Sundays. And so yeah, I definitely always remember him fondly, and some of my greatest kind of man lessons.
Well, you know, that's a respect.
Yeah, yeah.
That he got dressed for church because that's respect. I'm going to church. I'm going to worship. I need to look good. I need to set an example to my grandson.
Yeah, and to this day.
That's what grandpas are good at. Our parents have a harder time with that, but our grandparents can do that stuff.
Yeah, because he wasn't heavy-handed. He never was a heavy-handed guy. In fact, he was probably the nicest guy I've ever known. But he'd only tell you something once. You know, I remember one time my cousins.
My two-strike rule.
Yeah, I said my cousins were. So my cousins were down in the basement, I remember, and the three of us were down there, and we were young, and so my youngest cousin, he was doing these flying ninja kicks into this lazy boy that was down in the basement, and my grandfather told me that it better stop. And of course, I'm the oldest cousin. I'm supposed to enforce this rule. How? I don't know. So I'm only a year older than my one cousin and 2 years older than the other. But I did tell him, you know, and he said, if I have to come back down here, it's gonna be a problem. Now, Granddaddy kept a razor strap hanging in the living room upstairs. Now, I've never seen him actually use it. But it was always there for visual confirmation that he may do something fucked up to you if he needed to. And
kind of like the Soviets parading their atomic bombs every May 5th.
There you go. So he comes downstairs, and my little cousin, he's into the chair. He's going full tilt, and I happen to turn around, and Granddaddy's on the stairs looking right at me, and he goes, "Come here, boy." Son of a bitches.
I'm gonna die.
Oh yeah. So, and he's just like, "I thought I told you." I said, "Look, I told them they won't listen to me," and so finally he kind of, he just kind of raised his voice, scared the crap out of my cousins. They stopped. He went upstairs, and I remember getting in my cousin's face. I was like, "Man, look, I ain't taking no ass whoopings for you." and when he listens to this, he's going to be like, "It didn't happen like that." Yes, it did, Brian. Yes, it did.
Yes, it did. Good story. Good story.
Let's see. Ben Roberts.
Shit.
Ben.
Just ashed all over myself. I'm not a grown-ass man. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to actually continue with that theme that it happens in stages, I guess. You think, I think I'm a grown-ass man.
Yeah.
No. Like Dave said, you don't know shit.
Don't know shit.
Don't know shit. But probably the first time I really thought that I was the day I probably signed the line to join the United States military.
Yeah.
And then I went through basic training and noticed that there were definitely some people who signed the line who were not grown-ass men. And maybe I'm not either. Then I graduated. But I'd say the first time I probably knew, like really knew I was a grown-ass man was boots on the ground, Iraq. I don't know, even then, coming back from that, I still acted pretty immature in a lot of times. So I'd say I'm pretty confident now in the last year or so. and I'm 32.
Hey, and that's all right. That's all right.
You know?
But generally, most people don't realize they're truly a grown-ass man until they're in their 30s, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think that's the age where you finally get slapped around a little bit and you go, Jesus! Oh my God!
Well, I've just made so many mistakes that I'm fed up with that. The boy mentality, you know?
Yeah.
That sort of selfish, irrational decision making that puts you in bad positions.
Yeah.
Well, when you start realizing when you start like, hey, dude, we probably shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the point where you're figuring it out. That's a good point of novice people. I like it.
Yeah, and I'll leave it at that. Sounds good. There's a lot more to say, but
Yeah.
Well,
Lane, what do you think?
Hemingway would define the difference between a man and a boy as somebody who lives correctly, following the ideals of honor, courage, endurance, in a world that is sometimes chaotic, often stressful, and always painful. And you'll go on to clarify that a real man knows that in the end he's fucked, and how he graces being or how he faces being fucked with grace is what defines a man from a boy.
That's actually
very good, Lane.
That's
good. I like
super
that.
accurate.
Hemingway was wise in that way. He spoke good sea
So,
horse.
I mean, at first I thought I was a man, not when I was wounded the first time, but when a couple of my soldiers were wounded as a result of one of my orders. And it was like in about a quarter second where I saw the mortar round go up, I saw that truck blow up, and then I saw tracers rounds coming from 90-degree angles, thus signifying an ambush.
Yes.
And then realizing that there wasn't Dad to turn to be like, hey, get me out of this. Like,
Right.
You know, no, I am the old man.
You were the old
at the age
man.
of 23.
Yeah.
No, but that really wasn't it. It was when I was 30, building my exit strategy from the Army. A business partner of mine ran off, leaving me with about a $250,000 debt to handle. And
He's breathing.
No, he's not. But that's a different story.
Let's say
I didn't do it.
Okay, that's all I needed to know. I don't need anybody out there podcast land thinking that you hunted this man down.
No, he took the money, or he embezzled basically, or drained our accounts and took off for Panama, where he met his end. But anyway, it took me 4 years of living like an aesthetic monk. And I had to volunteer for another deployment to Afghanistan to avoid going bankrupt in order to pay down that debt so that I could leave the Army honorably.
Wow.
That's when I knew I was a grown-ass
That's
man.
honorable.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
honorable.
Yeah.
That's manly.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I think I have to agree.
That's squaring up big time.
Yeah. You squared up. Seriously squared up. Roy?
For me, it was the age of 23. It was when my first son was born. And I realized that I was responsible for another life other than mine. So that's when it really hit me, and that's when my life just took a 180. I was at one point in my life, I was a scumbag, and that's putting it politely, and he was the spark in my life to see things clearly and recognize that my actions affect others than just myself. And so my baby boy, Jizzle Man,
Jizzle Man.
Yeah, he changed everything for me. So that was it. That's when I knew I was grown. It got real. You know what I'm saying? to take care of them.
You
and,
got
you know,
real very
financially
fast,
and
yeah.
everything else. Yeah. So,
Got real like a hammer on the side of the head, right?
straight up.
Or a cast iron skillet to the forehead.
Hey, now, that's a whole other story that doesn't need to be told here.
Yeah, that's what I knew.
Anonymous female, when did you know that you were a grown-ass woman?
That was mine. When I got pregnant with my first child,
Yeah.
delivering that child and raising it,
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah, it is a sobering experience. I know for me, like you say, I definitely believe it's stages, because I know for me, I thought, you know, I was a grown ass man when my daughter was born. But I really probably wasn't really. I mean, I was, you know, making the rent payments.
You were
and
stepping up.
Yeah, I was doing what I was supposed to do. But I was still a filthy animal. I was out there in them streets, hard, like kicking it and clubbing and, you know, and womanizing and the whole smitty. But probably when I was late 20s, like say, like around up in there, is when it kind of hit me that, you know, late 20s, super early 30s, when it hit me like, we're not doing anything with our lives except for talking, guys. And so it you know, it's funny. One of the reasons that I do a podcast is because it really kind of hit me that if I was going to be talking, there had to be purpose. So, and because I love to talk, you know, I love to talk.
We never noticed.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Hey. But it's got to be real. It's got to be some purpose behind it. It's got to be something worth saying, with a group of people worth saying it to, for that matter. And you know, and so when the suggestion came up that, you know, maybe you should do a podcast, you know, it was a thought that had already been in my mind, but to use my voice for something more than just hearing my voice, you know, was definitely, it has definitely, like, I've known for a while that I'm a grown man, but it's definitely given me a different sense of purpose as a man, to have a reason to use my voice. And so, so not to get, you know, not to get heavy-handed with you out there in podcast land, but it is a privilege, you know. I mean, we come up here and we have a good time and we smoke and we drink and we talk a massive amount of shit, because that's what we do. But it really is in service to something, as a general rule, and I'm proud of that. I really am. I really am. So, with that being said, I think I got to everybody and why when they think they became a grown-ass man. I actually think we could delve deeper into that subject, but I think just like with the relationship talk, we may delve deeper in another episode, because there may be a question or two, a way to phrase it that brings out even more. But we do have a new person sitting in on the panel, and I am more than positive that Chris did not warn him what was to befall him, because he was the new person. And that means, Tony Ladish, you're going to get to play